Hi there, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the subscription-based business model in dentistry. So we all know what the subscription-based business is. This is your membership plan, your practice plan, dent plan, or your in-house plan. So we're just going to wait for a few minutes to see, to wait for a few people to turn up. And I've just started to make some notes on the board, and we'll go through those quite quickly. It shouldn't be too long today. Okay. Hope everyone's having a good time today. Not too busy. Let's just adjust that a little bit. Right. So especially in these times, it's really important to make sure the revenue streams are still coming in. In our practice, we've used Demplan as our go-to membership plan provider, but there are others out there. It's very slightly different models. At least they started with very slightly different models, but they've kind of all coalesced to an admin fee per patient, and they continue to include the insurance, the out of hours, the emergency, the usual stuff, and then there's different elements like Demplan used to have, or it still has, the all-encompassing care package, which includes fillings, whereas they now offer things like the essentials package, which is just the bare basics. So I just wanted to go through this list of the 9 keys for the subscription-based business. Really comes from software, and it comes from the software as a service business. Things like your Dropbox and Google Apps for Business, things that you pay for on a monthly subscription. So you're a long-term customer. You don't pay up front, you pay a much smaller fee, but you pay it monthly. So this list is really from the software side of a subscription-based business, but it's very applicable to using and growing your Demplan business or your practice plan business or your in-house membership plan business yourself. These things are really key. And what you realise is that dentistry is the same. You're selling a service or a product. It's just that you see your patient, you see your customer physically very regularly. So I just wanted to quickly go through these. So they're in 2 columns for the obvious reason that this is what your team is going to be doing. And if I come around this way, this is what your team will be doing. And this is what you outsource to your plan provider, or indeed if you want to do it in-house, you can do this in-house, but personally we don't, and we haven't done for 20 years, and it works well for us. So price and what you set your prices at, this determines your number of patient uptake, how quickly you can scale, how quickly you can grow your list. So, but price is usually worked out on your hourly rate compared to what you charge for those items of checkup, scale and polish, whatever you include in your plan, what your normal and usual price is for that, and then it's just broken down. So if your hourly rate is £180 and you're charging £40 for a checkup, you can work out what you should be charging for your bandings for your categories of patients. So I think on ours we have 2 checkups, 2 hygiene a year, 2 checkups, 3 hygiene a year, 2 checkups, 4 hygiene a year, and those are our 3 plans. And then we've also got a 4th plan where we've got 2 checkups, 4 hygiene a year, and we do 100 minutes of hygiene instead of 80 minutes in the previous version. So price is critical, but not the overriding critical. It will bring you in patients, but it's very important to keep looking at your prices and make sure that they fairly reflect what you're doing and what your services are. So for example, in our practice, we very rarely charge patients if they come in for a trouble appointment, but that has recently started to become quite difficult because patients have got used to it. So we have started to introduce an urgent fee because it's not included in the usual Demplan. But so you've got to keep looking at what you're offering and what you're providing, and make sure that it's fair and it still falls within your hourly rate, and it's correct and it's working for you. So price really leads on to acquire, and this is how you build up your patient list. So I've known practices where they've offered free teeth whitening if you sign up to the plan and be on it for 2 years, and that works really well for new practices. So you can pre-market to a new community, a new area, offering payments spread over, routine care covered, plus we'll give you X, Y, and Z if you join up and stay on the plan for 2 years. Now, obviously, your patients that you're acquiring are not just going to be having checkups and scale and polishes. They are going to be needing further work, and you're going to give a discount for that or whatever you've got within your plan to offer. So price leads on to acquire, and acquire is massive in terms of your marketing and how you bring in those patients through the door. Some practices will use the NHS to bring patients in. Some will get them dentally fit and then move them onto a practice plan or a DEM plan system. So these leads on to billing, collection, and accounting. Now these things we don't do. We leave these to the plan company to organise. But this is really critical that if you're doing this in-house, it's done accurately. And hence the reason we don't do it in-house, because I'd rather my practice manager was doing something much more useful. And for the cost of the admin fee that the plan companies charge, I think it's fairly reasonable to pay that and not do this. So we'd rather concentrate on this end of it rather than that. So most practices will do the pricing fairly well, because the plan companies will usually give them some good feedback and some good guidance on that. And the acquiring of it is really a bit down to you. Some of the big plan companies will come in and spend a few weeks with you training your team and then be there on the day when you go live, but they're looking for a big conversion. Whereas in our practice, what we've done is we've done it over time. We've done it over time very consistently. We build our list by bringing patients in, making them dentally fit, and then saying, look, we've done this lovely work for you, you like it, everything's really stable, let's protect what you've got, and let's put you on a plan so you're seeing the hygienist very regularly. And especially for patients who've got implants, it's really important that they're maintained, because frequently if they've had implants at another practice, they don't often go back for their regular 2-yearly reviews, etc., etc. And it's important for us to be on top of that, particularly with regard to oral hygiene, which undoubtedly slips as time progresses after implant placement. So this is a section that I think is forgotten, how you nurture your patients. So in software as a service, for example, Dropbox, they're continually upgrading or giving you extras or saying connect this software to Dropbox to make your life easier. So how this relates to dental practice is it's easier because we see our patients all the time. We are able to wow them all the time, and I think we should look to wow them all the time, because these are the patients that are really managing the cash flow in your practice, and it's very important to treat them as special, because I think they really are. They've put their faith in you to pay you every month, and I think you have to treat them well. So nurturing your patients, be that vouchers, be that earlier appointments, be that whatever gifts and things that you can come up with at Christmas or whatever it is. I frequently use, we remind our patients quite a lot about the insurance that they forget they've got. So when they're going on holiday, I remind them that, don't forget, take your Denplan card with you or your number, but even if you don't, call me and we'll find it for you, or call Denplan Direct, no matter where in the world you are, and they will help you, just like all the plan companies. So you've got to nurture your patients really well and make sure that they feel special and you do look after them. So it's not unknown for a filling that costs £100 that's then discounted to £85 because it's Denplan. I might say, look, I'll just do it for half price for you. You've been such a great customer to me, such a great patient. And patients appreciate that. They know that you don't have to do that. And I believe it helps in just keeping those patients sticky to your practice. But as I say, it's much easier for us than a software company, because again, we see our patients 4-6 times a year potentially, and more if I'm worried about something or I want to review something, I just bring them in and I don't charge them for that. And that leads on to measuring. It's really important to measure. So just like I said, I bring them in for a review because I'm worried about something, I want to monitor something, and I don't charge for that. That's probably not the best way to do it, because when you go back to look at the time you spend on the patients in these plans, and then you look at the income that they bring in minus the fee that you pay to the plan company, it's really important to make sure that you're measuring and checking that it's still balancing up. You're still getting your expected hourly rate. And this is where a lot of practices will set their fees at the beginning and 5 years later have not done any plan adjustments. It's very important when the patient comes in to adjust the plan and make sure, have those conversations with the patient and say, look, your BPE scores are not looking great. I need to add a bit more hygiene to your plan. And sometimes people are at the top end of ours and they're still not doing as well as they should because they're not doing their homework. So we would then say, this is now outside your plan, you need to pay for this. And I'm quite happy having those conversations, but a lot of people are not. A lot of dentists are quite shy of saying to their patients that this is not working. And I've been known to push people off, especially Dentplan Care, where it's all encompassing, and say, I think you need to go on to the other plan because I'm responsible if you don't brush your teeth, and I don't think that's fair, and you're not brushing your teeth. So sometimes you do have to have some difficult conversations with patients, which I find fairly straightforward, but I appreciate it's not easy. And we work with our associates to make sure they have those conversations as early as possible, particularly if you see a trend in the BPE. And the standard line from me is that you've been coming to me for 5 years and we've been talking to you about your gums. I don't want you to come back in 20 years and say, Dr. Jamal, I've been coming to you for 20 years and my teeth are failing now. Why is that? So we have those conversations, those difficult conversations all the time, and it's much more important if they're paying you monthly and they're on your subscription plan. So measurement is key, and then adjustment. You must adjust, and we do that on a case-by-case basis. We never send out letters and bulk adjust, because that's just asking for trouble. And then it's very important to iterate your plan. The plans need to be looked at, and you might say, oh, so the patients on A, we've got so few of them, we need maybe to adjust that and move those patients into B, or adjust B into C, or just change the prices. Now, the plan companies will always help you to adjust your prices every year. And they're very good at giving you the matrix and showing you the percentages that you should be able to get away with, given that inflation is X and dental inflation is XX. So the iteration of the plan is really important, but it's not just the price, it's also the categories and what you're providing to your patients. So for example, we are looking now at adding in 2 urgent appointments a year, so that they don't have to pay when they come, but then the plan price goes up. But it's just in talks at the moment. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is scale. So scaling your plan business, if that's the model you want to go, especially in these times, those people sitting on very large membership plan businesses, at least for the first few months, should be insulated from the ups and downs of the NHS and obviously a zero private income as we stand here today. So to scale the business, it's very important to look at not just your internal practice patients, but to look outside. So I remember a chap in central London had the idea of taking his membership plan out to all the local businesses. So you're talking Canary Wharf, so very large organisations, very concentrated, and he was signing up very large numbers at one go. And ideally that's where you want to be. You want to be going into businesses and asking to speak to the HR teams and seeing if you can do some direct to customer through the business plan acquisition. And this helps because it brings in a large number at one go, but you've got to make sure that in doing so that you can deal with those patients and that flow. So you must prepare and have that workforce planning, that you're not going to give those customers, those patients, a bad experience, because one bad experience can really kill you off, especially if everyone's in the same building. So it's really important that when you scale, and you should scale, especially if you've got the systems in place and you've got the hygienists there, then it's very important to scale and to look at increasing those numbers at a faster pace. So that's the way I've looked at our membership plan business. It's not as big as I'd like it to be, and we're always looking to grow it. We feel that after 20 years of having a plan in place and growing it steadily each year, our patients have less work, they have healthier mouths, they are generally healthier anyway, but when they do come in for checkups, it really is just a consultation and a check that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because remember, all dentistry is all dental disease is preventable, 99.9% of it. So the more we can get our patients to do what they're supposed to be doing, it's really, really great. Sorry about that if it's on a mirror image. Hopefully it will reverse when it goes up there. But anyway, I hope that's been useful. So don't look at your Denplan or practice plan businesses as once it's done, you're just going to add a few here and there. It's really important to grow it and to develop it, but it's also important to scale it and look outside your practice at new acquisition direct into your membership plan. And that's a little bit harder, but it is very doable. Thanks very much for the time. I hope the board reverses, but just to go through it, it's price, acquire, nurture, measure, iterate, and scale. And the things that I would avoid doing personally are the billing, the collection, and the accounts, which you can do very straightforwardly these days with things like Go Cardless, but it still takes somebody to double check it and go through it, and I don't want to have the hassle of that, and I'd rather have the backup of some of the bigger companies that I can call on when I need help. Thanks so much for your time, really appreciate it, and look forward to any questions or comments you might have. Take care.